Let's talk about the Detroit Lions, what they were able to do so effectively against, admittedly, a terrible defense, but still, hey, putting up as many points as they did is still impressive. So let's talk about the good, and, really there was no bad here. Let's just talk about the good that happened and kind of maybe even bring it into, obviously very big game coming up in a couple days against Green Bay. I'll kind of, just vaguely talk about how some of these play concepts could be key in that game as well. So first things first, every time you watch the Lions play, Amon-Ra St. Brown just jumps out on tape. The guy's been an absolute star for them this season, really, blooming into one of the better receivers in the NFL. This is a great example of, he's just starting to become one of those guys who, similar like Cooper Kupp, he might not play on the outside, but he just wins every single time he's out there. And on a situation like that, where it's a man coverage play, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown time. Third down, this is where you want to, get him to football. You have to get to the 35-yard line. You see his route and how, okay, could be a good route against type of coverage, right? All he has to do is beat the man who's trying to cover him, and that's how you can get the first down. Watch how when this play begins, you're going to see, he doesn't just get open. He is wide open. This is as open as you get in the NFL, and this is just kind of the craziness and how good he is the fact that he can get this open, and he can get this open somewhat consistently. It's not just every now and then. This guy just wins in one-on-one matchups. When he's in the slot, or when he's not, this is a guy who can just win so consistently. He's so shifty and he's so quick that it's just hard to cover him. Watch as Goff is going to make a good throw. St. Brown's able to pick up a big chunk play on that one. And this is the kind of thing that, again, if they're going to make the playoffs, which they need to win and they need a little bit of help, but you have to think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be a key contributor here, as he is, again, proven himself to be one of the better receivers in football. Now, heading over here, we would be kidding ourselves if we said that there was no part of this game that had to do with a bad Bears defense. Obviously, the Bears defense not being great was, part of how this was able to be so successful. Part of why the Lions are able to be so successful. This is a good example where they're going to have, good concept designed to beat the coverage that the Bears are in. As the Bears are in zone coverage, you have one receiver who can run a deep route, kind of push players further deep. That's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown's route on this one, as he is the setup guy right here, which, hey, there's an art to being a good setup guy on a route as well, and he's going to get extra attention, so why not use him in that way? You will then have DJ Chark. He's going to be the other guy who will run over the middle. That's the guy who's doing that. Look at how Goff runs this play action. He looks down the field right here. Chark is just wide open. Again, it's just not great defense by Chicago. Someone should have picked him up. Not to say that, you're still putting yourself in a position to succeed, still could have gotten open against a good defense, but the reality is, if this was against a good defense, he's not getting this open. But could he get this open against the Packers? Sure, we've seen it, and that's totally something that's possible. Watch as, again, Goff makes a very accurate throw. Hitting wide open guys is not the most difficult thing, but he's still putting it right on the money, right? Regardless of how open the guy is, Goff is still hitting his spots and hitting his target. So sure, it's not a throw that he has to put in a very specific spot, but he's still putting it where he's trying to put it. So, it's still just as impressive. We also saw the running game get going. The Lions do a good job at getting these explosive plays through the ground. That's what's going to happen here. It's going to be a run towards the left. And watch how when this play begins, really what's going to happen here is this is going to be, really just a good play by DeAndre Swift, who, I think has shown flashes early on in his career, but this has definitely been his best season, I would say, most consistent season. You see how there's a window where he can try and run through, but he's going to have to get through it quickly, right? As there are Chicago players getting over to try to make a play, and of course there is a safety deep, so you're not expecting this to go for a touchdown here. But watch Swift speed through the hole and then makes a move on the safety, and he does get a touchdown on this play. And again, having a guy who can turn good runs into great runs, that obviously helps. Heading over here now, this is another, it's a good concept for sure, where it's going to be a zone coverage play. And the way the concept works on paper, you're going to be a little bit confused as to how this is going to get open, where you have a receiver running a route over the middle, and I've also highlighted a tight end blocking. But there's more to it than just this. That is how Brock Wright, that's the tight end on this play, that's how his route is going to end, where he's going to start off blocking, but then he runs a route. And the idea is that you have Josh Reynolds, the receiver who I've talked about, he's going to get attention. You then have Wright get kind of where Reynolds was, and hopefully the Bears players who are covering there go away, essentially, because they are now covering Reynolds. You have an open space to hit right. Look at how, when this play begins, you do see that for Jared Goff, he's looking over, and there is definitely a window to hit Brock right. This play concept is working. And again, could you throw some, it's the Bears defense, that's what's happening? Sure, I guess you could say that. But the reality is, I think this is just a good play from the Lions to scheme it up. Goff does make this throw, and they're able to pick up a touchdown right there. So again, being able to get this stuff and get this stuff consistently has been a big part of why the Lions have been on such a hot streak. With the exception of that Panthers game, obviously, things have been going very well for them, and part of why I still think this offense has a very good chance of, if they get in, they could beat anybody because they can outscore anybody. Another guy who's really started to pick up his game as of late is DJ Chark. That's what we're going to talk about on this play. As you see, Chark has a one-on-one matchup, and while he hasn't been getting a ton of catches, when he has been getting catches, they typically have gone for some pretty long plays. I mean, the guy has a 40-plus yard reception in 3 of his past 5 games, and this one is not going to be that much, but it's still going to go for 28. And the reality is, what's interesting about this play for me with Jared Goff is how quickly he's going to get rid of the ball. Goff just trusts Chark in one-on-one matchups at this point. I mean, as you see, Goff is going to just fire one immediately to Chark, and Chark rewards him by being able to make the grab right there. So just a really good play there by DJ Chark to be able to pick up that kind of, that amount of yards on that play. And again, the fact that he can win on the outside, they just have these different guys who can do different things, They might not have a, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I would say, is a star receiver, but they have other guys like a DJ Chark who can come in and play his role very effectively, and have a couple other guys like that on offense. And that's why this offense is able to be so effective at times, and most of the time is, even with Jared Goff, who, I would say has been a solid quarterback this year. I don't think Jared Goff is a superstar. I've never felt that way about Jared Goff. Pro Football Focus has him as the 22nd ranked quarterback in football this year, although it looks like, sort of you take his first half splits and his second half splits, it's been very different. But still, you get Goff who can play well, and then you give him a situation to succeed, and that's where Goff thrives, right? He was able to do that with the Rams. He's able to do that now with the Lions. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.